Hi, I'm Uzma Syeda, and today I'll be talking to you about our paper, Process and Pitfalls of Online Teaching and Learning with Design Study Lite Methodology, a retrospective analysis. I hope you find this useful. I would like to start by introducing you to the other authors of this paper, Cody Dunne and Michelle Borkin. Both Cody Dunne and Michelle Borkin are data visualization instructors who acknowledge that conducting design studies is a valuable skill for students to learn as it is an important aspect of visualization research. Therefore, both of them teach design studies to students in their classes. But what are design studies anyway? Design studies are an integral method of visualization research with hundreds of instances in the literature. Design studies are a problem driven research where visualization researchers investigate and solve problems faced by domain experts through visualization of their data. However, despite its significance, practical implementations of design studies are typically excluded from visualization pedagogy due to the long timelines associated with such studies. This exclusion deprives students of learning and implementing design studies and creates a rift between promising visualization students and researchers. So, if this is the case, how do Professor Dunn and Professor Borkin teach design studies in their classes? Well, both of them teach design studies to students using the Design Study Lite methodology or DSLM framework. The Design Study Lite methodology or DSLM framework was developed by Syeda et al., and it is a novel seven-stage framework for teaching and implementing design studies with novice students within a time frame of just 14 weeks. That is, within the duration of a typical semester. Both Professor Dunn and Professor Borkin executed design studies and implemented the DSLM framework in 1 and 5 semesters respectively between the years 2017 to 2019. During these semesters, hundreds of students in the courses collaborated with dozens of local organizations to create useful visualizations for them. Here is a snippet of only a few of those works. However, in the year 2020, the worldwide COVID-19 pandemic hit, and all academic institutions were forced to shift their classes to remote and online settings. But even before the pandemic, online visualization courses were on the rise. This is because data visualization is a fast growing field, and fields ranging from technology and science to arts and communication are all orienting themselves to more data driven approaches. The growing popularity of the field has therefore resulted in more institutions offering in person as well as online visualization courses. Online classes can make learning more accessible to a wider audience and without the physical barriers of a classroom can accommodate more students. The COVID-19 pandemic only re-emphasized the importance of online teaching and learning. So what does this mean for our research? Well, we all know that to strengthen the epistemological underpinnings and credibility of any theory or methodology, it is imperative to test it under different conditions and reevaluate it. Therefore, with this growing interest, necessity, and shift towards online teaching, we wondered, can we adopt the DSLM framework to effectively teach design studies in online classes? Design studies inherently require human-centered design techniques such as meetings, brainstorming, sketching, collaborations, which are all traditionally and also better executed with in-person interactions. So our first research question is, can DSLM be implemented in completely online classroom settings? Besides the teaching environment, the total number of students can also impact learning and engagement. Therefore, we also asked, can DSLM be implemented in classes with more than 30 students, which was the highest number of students for the previous in-person DSLM iterations. Finally, previous iterations of DSLM were all implemented in conjunction with service learning, or SL. Service learning, or SL, is an experiential learning model in which classroom learning objectives are aligned with community service to meet both educational and community goals. However, institutional support for SL may not be available for all. Therefore, we asked, is it possible to teach DSLM without SL? Therefore, in this work, we investigate the adaptability and scalability of the DSLM framework by implementing and evaluating it in 2 online data visualization courses taught by two different instructors with different teaching styles and strategies. Therefore, the contributions of this work is validation that DSLM can be applied to other conditions beyond the original framework implementation, including online classrooms and more learners. Novel additions to the DSLM framework which further enhance, clarify, and improve the framework, and a critical reflection on our experience of teaching these courses, including recommendations for instructors on implementing DSLM in an online setting. Implementations of online DSLM. As mentioned before, we implemented DSLM in two online courses, one without and one with service learning, and with 47 and 57 students respectively. In total, the students successfully completed 36 design studies in collaboration with local, national, and international nonprofit, government, academic, research, and for-profit organizations. Both online implementations completed all the steps of the DSLM framework. To learn more about the specifics and differences between the two implementations and more details about them, please refer to our paper. However, I will now briefly discuss how each of these steps of the DSLM framework were executed collectively in these two courses. The first step is to choose a domain collaborator or partnering organization via Zoom meetings and email correspondence. Whether the collaborator is chosen by the instructor of the course or by the individual students themselves, it must be ensured that the chosen collaborator can provide appropriate datasets and can invest necessary time for collaboration throughout the semester. The next step is to form project groups. The groups can be formed by the teaching staff based on the background and skill sets of the students, or it can be facilitated by the students themselves. We recommend the former as this ensures that all groups have comparable skill sets. This is especially important for online classes as building rapport with fellow students in online classrooms may be challenging. The next step is the abstract stage. In this stage, the students create a team charter to manage expectations, responsibilities, and logistics of their collaboration. They also interview their corresponding partners over Zoom, and both parties also sign an IP agreement using online tools like DocHub. Finally, reflecting on the interviews, the students identify the domain problems and conduct task analysis for their projects. The students then embark on the design stage where they do a preliminary data exploration and create multiple visualization sketches. They then share these sketches with the teaching staff using Zoom's screen sharing feature and get feedback on them and then sketch their final visualizations. The students then start building their final visualization prototypes in the build stage. The next stage is the evaluation stage where the students evaluate each other's prototypes and provide useful feedback and comments to the respective groups. This can be done synchronously using the class over Zoom, where each group will have a breakout room in Zoom and participants can come in and evaluate their visualizations in real time. And alternatively, it can also be done asynchronously, where students evaluate each other's projects and leave written feedback on platforms like Canvas or Piazza. And finally, in the dissemination stage, the students finalize their visualizations and present their projects in class and then hand over their final product to the corresponding collaborator. Now I will take a few seconds to share with you some live videos of the final visualizations created by the students in these online courses. Enjoy. These visualizations created by the students help the partner organizations to better understand their data and enable them to present and communicate their data more effectively to others. On the other hand, it also helped the students to implement their classroom learning skills in the real world. And we're back. These were just a few examples of the amazing work that the students did in these semesters. Additions to the DSLM framework. During the online iterations of DSLM, we made many pedagogical choices to adapt the framework to online teaching and learning. We revised and scrutinized each step of the DSLM to identify these changes. And this process not only aided in our curricula development, but also revealed novel additions and clarifications to the DSLM framework itself that are independent of the conditions under which it is executed, which is online or in person. Some of the additions include preparing students for service or collaboration through dedicated assignments, explicitly identifying the primary stakeholder or user for each project, creating a formal data report, and reflecting on the project at the end of the semester. To learn more about these novel updates, please refer to our paper and website. Validation of online DSLM implementations. We validated the online DSLM implementations using the students' and partners' feedback and students' final project grades and compared these to previous in-person iterations of the framework. 5 high-level themes were identified from the students' comments. First, the most common theme was that students agreed that the framework helped them better learn the concepts of the course. Many echoed comments such as, I think that it forced me to better understand and apply everything that we covered in class. The students felt that they had sufficient support and feedback for effective project completion. Many left comments like, the online course environment was handled very well with a lot of helpful opportunities for feedback from the partner, TAs, and classmates. The students overwhelmingly appreciated the effectiveness of the project timeline. Some of them said that despite being virtual, the deliverables throughout the course proved really effective and prevented any components from being rushed at the end. Many also felt the influence and impact of the project on a personal level. They expressed that it gave them a greater purpose than to just try to get a good grade, while others echoed similarly, saying that they were excited to work with more community partners in the future. These themes were in all alignment with the previous in person iterations of DSLM. Students overall expressed satisfaction regarding communication. However, some students similarly said that it's a little awkward to ask a quick question in an online class. A few students also raised concerns by saying that different time zones made it difficult to satisfy every group member's daily schedules. The final project implementing DSLM accounted for 40% of the total course grade. This depended solely on the technical and conceptual expertise demonstrated by the students in their final project assignments in each stage of the DSLM throughout the semester. We compared the final project grade percentages of 5 previous in person implementations of DSLM with the 2 online DSLM implementations, and it was revealed that the online implementations of DSLM performed very comparably and even better in some cases to the previous successful in person iterations of the framework. Now let's see what the partners had to say. All partners agreed that the student projects were useful to their organizations. One of them said that the visualizations were useful as a tool to put on their website, while others echoed similarly, saying that the final visualizations gave interesting insights into their data that they had not known before. Again, these themes were all in alignment with the previous iterations of DSLM. Finally, we reflect on our experience with the online DSLM implementations and provide helpful guidance and actionable recommendations for others who plan to implement DSLM in their online courses. I will mention a few of these recommendations in the following slides, but for detailed recommendations, please refer to our paper. Preparedness and flexibility are important for managing unexpected situations. This may include performing mock-up test runs of the software platforms used to manage and run the class, having backup AV and internet setup, anticipating possible hiccups, and having alternative solutions as backups. Reaching out to personal connections for potential collaborations can also act as a safety net for the undesirable situations of not having enough collaborators, as recruiting collaborators online can be challenging. Providing a safe space and encouraging proactivity in students is important, as they can feel reluctant and shy to reach out in online classes. The teaching staff should regularly and persistently remind and ensure that students can reach out with any questions or requests. Time zone considerations while forming group projects is important to ensure students can meet with their project partners easily from different geographical locations. Synchronous usability is more realistic and closer to the actual experience and can capture the nuances of feedback that might be lost in an asynchronous usability testing. Ensuring accountability of students and partners is essential in online courses. This can be facilitated by keeping track of communications between the students and the partners, and even a confidential group member evaluation can be a really helpful way to ensure accountability within student groups. Future work. In the future, we plan to create additional teaching and actionable resources for the DSLM framework and envision testing the framework in different universities with various levels of support and student backgrounds. We also plan to use DSLM more broadly to support expedited design study research projects. Conclusion. Finally, I would like to re-emphasize that this work demonstrates the value in testing previously published methodologies under different conditions in order to build trust and contribute novel theories. Being able to conduct DSLM online makes the framework more widely applicable and paves the way for opportunities for global collaboration and participation. The lessons learned in this research can also have implications for online design studies in general, be it in pedagogy or research. DSLM provides a systematic and expedited approach to conduct design studies in visualization pedagogy, and we encourage other educators to use DSLM in their own in person or online courses. Thank you for listening. I hope you give DSLM a try to empower your students to step into the shoes of actual visualization researchers and tackle real world problems through a realistic and systematic design process. If you would like to know more about online DSLM, please refer to our paper, or for more details about DSLM framework in general, visit the website on the screen. Thank you for listening.